Great work out there, Striker.
Thanks, Captain. New outfit?
Well, of course, we were looking too much alike. By the time you grow a mustache, people are gonna think we're the same person. Anyway, it's time for your next assignment. And this time, you won't be representing the DLPD. You'll be going in undercover.
Any, reason for that, Captain?
Damn right there is. We got sources telling us people are, messing with drafts. They're calling it, sniping. People put a bid in for a team member and get undercut at the last minute.
And you can't have a DLPD representative out in the open, or they'll back off.
Precisely! This is fast becoming a big sport here, Striker. We can't have people messing with the procedure. At some point we're gonna have to get systems in place, regulate this sort of thing. But for now, get in there and see what you can do. That'll be all. Dismissed.
So, sniping was a thing even back then? Long as Draft League's been around, people have tried to one-up the system. You know that better than anyone else. Well, if Max was on it from the start, can't you contact him? See if he's got any insight? Come on now, Coach. You know as well as I do that he's not going to get involved now. Look, but from what you've told me, this is happening right now. Which is why we gotta do this properly. Just like he did back in the day. Right now, you gotta focus up. You're fighting the current champion. And you know who he works for. The Consortium. Exactly. Look, I know they've been kind of quiet, but we can't take that for granted. Last week was a close call. You just gotta keep on winning. I'll call up the trade office later, see what I can dig up. Hello everyone, Shroomraver here, and welcome to PPL Season 5 Week 2. Yes indeed. Now, last week we got off to a good start with a super fun, super close game against Nexus. And today things don't get easier because we are taking on the current reigning champion, IronBoffin, and the Rochester Rhydons. His links down in the description below, along with everyone else. Make sure you check them out. Boff is a top dude. He does a lot of great content between sort of his streams and his league content and various other things. You should go check him out. He has a lot of opportunities for various friends doing editing stuff. He's just a great guy. And his team is pretty scary stuff. He can choose from, as you can see, Petulant, Corviknight, Ogerpon Wellspring, Alolan Ninetales, Salamence, Infernape, Regieleki, Rhydon, Necrozma, Satitan, Zarude, and Glastria. Terra Captains there are the Salamence, Rhydon, and Satitan. This is a very spooky team. It is very similar to the team he drafted last season, and why not? I mean, you know, he won the damn thing last season. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So he's drafted a very similar team, but with what I think are significant upgrades. What used to be Terra Hydreigon has been replaced by Terra Salamence instead. He has kept the Corviknight, the Terra Rhydon, and the Alolan Ninetales, but he's upgraded that Snowcore from Terra Beartic and Alolan Sandslash to Terra Satitan and Glastria. The Ghost has gone from the offensive Spectria to the incredibly bulky Petulant, and I think that Ogerpon Wellspring is a better partner to Snow than Ogerpon Hearthflame. So he's made some very, very good changes to the original build of last season's team to upgrade it to this monstrosity that we now have to take on. So, how are we going to go about that? Well, we are starting off with Choice Scarfed Iron Treads. We are a mixed set here with 40 investment in attack, 196 speed, 196 special attack, 208 speed with a naive nature, but we've still got enough special defense investment to live 2 hits from Petrump. We're rocking Earth Power, Iron Head, Megahorn, and Volt Switch. You're going to see a theme to this team. It is very offensive because we need a lot of power to break down those walls, but we also need to make sure we do not allow that Salamence any breathing room to try and set up, because it can just beat us straight up. So, you know, Iron Treads is there to do some outspeeding, to try and get some good chip damage into a lot of things, Volt Switch around to get us initiative, all that good stuff. Next up, we are giving a debut to Deoxys Speed. This is a Life Orb set, Psycho Boost, Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, and Thunder Wave. Especially offensive, of course. 212 speed, timid nature, I believe it is, on there. Because we want to outpace that Salamence at +1 if we need to. And just basically outspeed pretty much everything. And especially anything under that that's scarfed, we're going to be outpacing too. We get some good damage output on there to try and break through for some of our other mons. We're doing kind of similar stuff to last week, you know. We have specific things to break specific things, and then make way for our bigger power in the back. One of those things that can do either job is going to be Heavy Duty Boots, Nasty Plots, Tornadus-T, 168 speed, Timid, Max Special Attack, Bleak Wind Storm, Heat Wave, Grass Knot, and Nasty Plot. Bleak Wind is very free into Boff's team, outside of, realistically, the Corviknight, the Alecki, and the Rhydon. The Alecki will still take big damage because it isn't particularly bulky. We got Heat Wave for the Corviknight. We've got Grass Knot for the Rhydon before it terrors, and that is pretty much the way we are going with it. However, that Salamence and the Rhydon are still very big threats. We need something to be able to check them defensively and still dish out damage. So we have a near max physical defense choice Specs Primarina. 208 HP, max defense, bold nature, Moonblast, Draining Kiss, Ice Beam, and Psychic Noise. Moonblast is going to be pretty much the move of choice. Draining Kiss there in case we've got things relatively chipped and we just want to stay as healthy as possible while getting back all our health from getting some attacks off. Ice Beam in case the Rhydon is the Terra, not the Salamence. It's always nice to be able to hit that for massive damage in case it's like, you know, Roselli Berry. Psychic Noise pretty much on there to try and not really check the Petrump because it'll still do a lot of damage. Stop it healing is always going to be nice. Then we have the big hitters, but they still have a bit of bulk to them in some cases because we have got Leftovers Urshifu. We're rocking the same, pretty much the same set as last week. Wicked Blow, Brick Break, Iron Head, and Bulk Up in terms of bulk up and the move coverage. Iron Head on there over Poison Jab, so that we can hit the Alolan Ninetales and the Snow Core as hard as possible, possibly getting some flinches. Brick Break because I don't want that Aurora Veil up if I can avoid it. We're actually only rocking 180 Adamant. We are max physical defense, 56 HP, and only 20 in speed. Because there's a bunch of stuff on there that's going to outpace us anyway, so we may as well try and get some value out of that physical defense. Tank hits from the likes of Physical Infernape, if it's Jolly, the Ogerpon as well, the Rhydon, a Physical Necrozma, Zarude, things like that. And moving on to the final member of the team. There's going to be a cut here because I forgot to leave some pertinent information in when I initially recorded this, so we're going back in post-editing. The final member of our team is of course going to be Haxorus. Terra Ghost here with the Colbur Berry, Terra Blast, X-Scissor, Dragon Dance, and Taunt. What I forgot to say when I first recorded this, but I really want to make clear here, after the week that Haxorus had last time, I've used Haxorus a lot this generation and a couple of times in previous generations, and it's always been really good for me. Haxorus, over the course of me using it on my Parasect Germain teams, currently has 49 career KOs. It is pushing for the big 5-0. One more kill for Haxorus, and it can get there, and I'm hoping it can do it in this game. We have the Terra Ghost. Ghost is kind of free into Boff's team. But the only other move we have is X-Scissor, because that's going to hit his only resistance, which is going to be the Zarude. It's going to hit it for massive damage and do big things to the Ogerpon. With Dragon Dance to boost up, we are Adamant Nature with like near max investment. But we also have Taunt on there, and here's why. There is a world in which Haxorus can Dragon Dance up as, for example, a Corviknight comes in. He knows he's going to know I'm Terra Ghost, so he may not want to go Petrant straight ahead. So he may just go into the Corviknight as I DD. Now at that point is when I go for Taunt. That will stop him from boosting up alongside me or whirlwinding me out. At that stage, I can maybe go for another DD or just start hitting things. There's also the chance that because I've run First Impression on Haxorus before against Boff, which helped win me the game, he might be a bit paranoid of that and start running Protect or Spiky Shield on the likes of Zarude or Ogerpon. That's another opportunity to DD up with Haxorus and try and put us in the best position to get a bunch of KOs. But that is going to be my team going into this one, so without further ado, let's get over to the battle screen, see what Boff has decided to bring against us. So, as you can see, Boff has decided to bring Alolan Ninetales, Terra Water Titan, Corviknight, Infernape, Terra Fairy Salamence, and Petrant. A lot of what we were expecting, the Snowcore is there in part. There is no Rhydon. Again, this happened last season. He didn't bring Rhydon against me, and I was kind of relieved about that. So, we know the score here. Don't let him set up. Break down those walls. I'm going to lead with Tornadus-T. Let's see what Boff decides to do. So, here we go. PPL Week 2 against IronBoffin and the Rochester Rhydons. There he is. He is going to be leading off with the Infernape, as I'm going to go with my Tornadus. This is kind of an expected lead. I saw this a little bit in mocks. I'm fully anticipating this to just be a Focus/Stealth Rock lead. Possibly just with 3 other coverage move attacks. Maybe mixed. He's like to run that a little bit. But either way, I am just going to click Bleak Wind Storm. There is no immediate switching outside of Corviknight, and I can try and Heat Wave that afterwards, if that's what he decides to do. So, Bleak Wind going to come in. It is indeed going to take the Infernape down to its Focus Sash, as to be expected, and as we'll see, it is going to be the Stealth Rocks that go up. They, I think, are there to stay. We don't have Spin on our Treads, but that's okay. Rocks aren't too much of a bother for me. They're kind of the least of my concern at this point. What I'm going to do here is just click Grass Knot. If he wants to stay in, I want to be able to click a move that's at least going to hit. I don't want to risk the Bleak Wind. If he wants to try and switch out and save this, I can just go for another move afterwards, or maybe even go for a Nasty Plot, depending on what comes in. So I'm going to click Grass Knot and see if he wants to save this or not. Now, Boff is going to save the Infernape for later, maybe to sack, maybe to get a couple of big hits off under the right circumstances. It is going to be the Petrant that comes in, and that's going to take, I don't even know if that health bar moved, I'll be honest. It doesn't take anything from the Grass Knot. Now, the switch into Treads is super duper obvious. Treads, under the right circumstances and with the right moveset, can wall Petrant until the end of time. So, fully anticipating him to just want to go for either a Shadow Ball or indeed a Parting Shot to get initiative, I'm going to click Nasty Plot here. He cannot KO me from full at all. There is no shot, even if he specs. So I'm just going to go for Plot, and as we'll see, he is going to stay in. So, Tornadus now at +2 special attack. That is dangerous for anyone to face down, and it is going to be that Parting Shot, probably anticipating, as I say, my switch into the Iron Treads. So, Petrant's going to get out of there, but now Boff has to bring something in to take a +1 hit from Tornadus-T. And it is going to be the Infernape that comes back in. That's really the only choice he has at this point to at least scout what I'm going to do. Like, no amount of priority that Infernape gets is going to do any meaningful damage to Torn. And like I did before, I am just going to go for the Grass Knot to guarantee that hit. That's going to come in and do the last 1% of damage to the Infernape. Down that goes. Tornadus picking up its first KO of the season, and we are going to pick up a 6-5 lead in this Week 2 game. So, in is going to come the Petrant once again. Boff has seen 3 of my moves. I think he has to imagine that my last move is Heat Wave, so Corviknight is never going to be safe. But like, at +1 special attack, I'm still doing 50% to a specially defensive Petrant on a good day. And I want to pressure this thing as much as possible. So I am just going to go for the Bleak Wind Storm, and Torn is going to do what Torn does best, and it is going to miss. Unfortunate. In comes the Malignant Chain. That is looking like it's fully, assumedly, specially defensive. Doesn't look like it's got any investment in offense at all, which is grand. But like I say, I want damage on this Petron. I want to pressure it into giving me a favourable switch into my treads later on. I would assume that he's just going to go for parting shot or maybe recover here to stall me out, or at least scout what I'm going to do. Bleakman's going to come in, and as you see, it's doing about 50% to this guy, so it's looking to be Spadef. We get the speed drop, which doesn't matter. Boff's going to go for the Malignant Chain again, however, and this time he is going to snag that poison, and of course with Petron, that means he's also going to get the Poison Puppeteer and confuse me. You know, it's a 50% chance, it's bound to happen sooner or later. It's a shame about that first miss, that would have pressured him into doing something else, I think. At this point though, I do have to get out of there with Tornadus. I am boots, so the rocks don't matter to me. I can salvage it to come back at about 50% to do some more damage later on, but Boff of course knows this. He can very easily read me switching into treads here, and that is going to give this Petront a chance to go for recover. So all that work by Tornadus is rather for naught because the Petront is now at like 99%. However, he does not want to take the risk. We've assumed that he is specially defensive from what we've seen, so he doesn't really want to stay in here and tank an Earthquake from a Treads that could be very offensive indeed. So I am actually just going to click Volt Switch here, because now is when I'm thinking the switch into Corviknight has to come, and as we'll see, Nero is absolutely his Corviknight. This is really nice for me. I'm going to go for a Volt Switch. That's going to do a really solid chunk of damage to Corviknight. Really happy about how much that did. It's looking like it might not be fully Spadef, and at this point I can just go right on back into my Tornadus. My last move is Heat Wave. Boff is bound to know that, but there's precious little he's going to be able to do about it. So back in comes Tornadus. He's going to show going to show leftovers on the Corviknight. We are of course going to take that little tick of poison damage. Now, Boff usually likes to run Brave Birds on his Corviknight. He's not a fan of just running like full support or body press. He likes to have that offensive option. I agree. And, you know, even if he's got no investment, Brave Bird into poison will take out my Tornadus. So I'm not going to bother setting up. I'm just going to go for as much damage as I can with Heat Wave and try and put this thing in range of essentially anything at this point. There's nothing that actively wants to take on this Torn without taking a massive, massive hit. There's nothing that Boff has in the back that wants to do that, and at this point he now starts to need to think about keeping his Petrons as healthy as possible. So, Heatwave going to come in and do a big old chunk of damage to the Corviknight. Brave Bird, once again, is going to land a crit against me from Boff's Corviknight, just as it did last season. That one, of course, did not matter. Even if you got a minimum roll on that, the Toxic Tick would have then taken me out. However, the Corviknight is at incredibly low amount of health, and basically anything can come in here and take the KO. Now, much as I would love to go into Haxorus, I have to play this game patiently. Like, that was what I learned in a lot of my mocks. Play the game patiently. Don't get impatient. If you see the option to take the KO on a very low health Corviknight, the plan is always to go into Iron Treads, Volt Switch, and reposition. So it is going to be Iron Treads who comes in. Boff has already seen Volt Switch, but at this point I'm so free to click it. There is no immunity to it, so he's either got to give me the Corviknight or give up initiative into my team, and he is going to choose to give me the Corviknight. That is going to go down a big, big defensive monster out of the way. Treads going to pick up its first KO of the season, and now I have to decide what I want to go into to best prevent nasty things happening. It is all about preventative measures against that Salamence, and secondary to that is to try and wear down the Petront and manage the snow. So we've got a lot going on here, and much as I want to go into Lucky O'Brien, I'm not going to. My best play here every time is to go into my Deoxys Speed. It stops the Petront coming out. It basically kind of soft checks the Salamence coming out straight from full as well, because he doesn't know how defensive I am. What this basically does is force in the Alolan Ninetales. And it is indeed the Alolan Ninetales that is going to come in and sets up the snow. Now, I have a plan to deal with this. What I'm going to do is, first off, go for Psycho Boost. If he's Scarfed, he will outspeed, but he won't KO me. I'm assuming he's not going to be Scarfed. I'm pretty much assuming he's probably going to be either Boots or Icy Rock. My plan is to go for Psycho Boost and try and get like 60-70% on him, as he presumably goes for Aurora Veil, then Thunder Wave him, then go into Treads to deal with him. That's the plan going into the matchup with Deoxys against the Alolan Ninetales. And straight off the bat, Nigel is going to let me down by missing Psycho Boost. That's the second move we missed today. I was a little bit annoyed because there is the Aurora Veil. I was mildly peeved by that. Very unfortunate. You'll see me here. Just check Psycho Boost. 90% accurate move, by the way. The problem now is that even with a Life Orb, Psycho Boost is not going to be doing near enough damage to this Alolan Ninetales behind its Veil. So what I'm going to do is, kind of a little bit out of spite, just go for the Thunder Wave and slow this thing down, hopefully tank a hit, and then maneuver into my Iron Treads. So, Thunder Wave is going to come off. Thankfully, it is going to hit. That's going to paralyze the Alolan Ninetales, which is great. That's one of his faster members. It's going to be Blizzard that comes in, and that does a good amount of damage. This thing has some fairly hefty offensive investment. But in my mind, I was thinking, I'm fine. Treads is still, like, it's still, I may be offensive, but Treads is still bulky. It will be able to tank this hit, and hopefully then go for Iron Head and maybe try and paraflinch this thing down once I get it in. So that's the play I'm going to make. Nigel is going to get on out of there. I'm going to make the play back into my Iron Treads, thinking I'll be able to tank this hit very well indeed. Ninetales is not a threat to me, and then Blizzard does 1,000,000 damage. I underestimated the offensive power of Ninetales. Hold my hands up and say it. I really thought I'd take that hit better than I did. But now Treads is kind of not looking as good as it could. It's certainly not taking a Shadow Ball from that Petron, even if it isn't offensive. So what I'm going to have to do here is just go for that Iron Head. It's still an Alolan Ninetales. Like, it's quad weak, it's not physically defensive, and maybe we can snag a Paraflinch because it still probably won't kill. With the defense boost to Ice types in Snow and the Aurora Veil up, it will probably live this hit. So, Iron Head is going to come in and it tanks that hit. Can we get a Paraflinch? Of course we can't. Not a chance. Missed a couple of moves, don't get the hacks in my favour either. But you know, it happens. We still get a very good chunk of damage into the Alolan Ninetales with the Iron Head. And now I am free to go into something faster than this and threaten the KO. If he wants to get the best out of Sir Titan, he's going to have to withdraw it. And for that reason, I am going to try and take the opportunity to pop a Terror. And so, it is going to come Lucky O'Brien, looking for his 50th KO in his career for my team. Really hoping we can get it here. Like I say, if Boff wants to maintain that Snow, he has to get out of here now. Last time we battled, he was forced to sack it off to the Haxorus. But right now, if he wants to get any value out of Sir Titan, he's going to need to save the Snow because too many turns have passed for him to be able to reliably get a lot of good usage out of it. What I'm going to do therefore is Terra up and go for my Terra Blast. The only really safe switch he has, ironically enough, is going to be the Petulant because that Aurora Veil is up. So, here comes the Terra Ghost from Haxorus, looking to try and deal as much damage as possible to this Petulant and once again start the process of wearing it down, potentially for something else. There's the big Terra Ghost. We are going to go for the big Terra Blast. That is going to come in on what I think is a specially defensive Petulant, and it is going to do nothing because of the Veil. However, that is the last turn of said Veil. He is not Light Clay. I believe he is Icy Rock instead. What this means is we have a bit of an opportunity. We have kind of already assessed that this thing, from the damage output it did to Tornadus, probably doesn't have any special attack investment. And if that is the case, his Shadow Ball does not KO Haxorus from this range because of our HP investment. What I am therefore going to do is I'm going to stay in and I'm going to click Dragon Dance. because if he's specially defensive at +1, he will be blown back by the subsequent Terror Blast if we live the hit. And we do get to do a little bit of scouting. If the worst comes to the worst, we can then go into Urshifu. So, I am going to click Dragon Dance here. Shadow Ball cannot KO us. Foul Play, if he packs it, cannot KO us because of our Kolba Berry. So, with the time ticking down, deciding what to do, I think, screw it, let's go for Dragon Dance. So, Haxorus is now at +1 attack, +1 speed, which is scary for anybody to deal with. Petrunt is going to reveal that final move as the Shadow Ball. It is going to come in and not get the KO. He does not have any special attack investment. That was the maximum roll he could have gotten. And now, something has to take a +1 Adamant Terror Blast from Haxorus. And nothing wants to take that hit. There is nothing that wants to switch in and take this. So, here comes that Terror Blast. Adamant, near max attack, +1 onto the Petrunt, and ladies and gentlemen, with that KO, Haxorus hits the big 5-0. 50 career KOs in Paris Saint-Germain colours, which we love to see. But now in comes the snowy threat in the form of the Satitan. Now, last time I faced down Boff and he had a Snow Core, at +1 speed, I actually outran his Beartic. So there is a world in which he's not running any speed on this Satitan. What I'm going to do here is go for Taunt. If I outspeed and he goes for Belly Drum, he's kind of neutered there. I'm rather thinking he's just going to be a bit speedy, go for an attack and take me out. He can't really mess around with this Haxorus, and as you'll see, that is what's going to happen. The Ice Spinner is going to come in from the Satitan, and that is going to take down my Haxorus. It's got its KO, and it's helped break the Petrunt, which is always very important. And very crucially, the snow is going to stop. And what that means is that my Urshifu now probably outpaces this Satitan. So, in comes Urshifu for the first time. Now, the snow is gone, which means this Satitan does not have its defense boost anymore, which is kind of crucial. If he wants to get the best out of his Satitan, he needs to go back into the Alola Tails and sack it to my Urshifu, hoping that I just attack, take it out, and then he can bring Satitan back in to try and deal damage. I'm assuming it probably has Play Rough specifically for this Mon. However, he's not going to be able to get the best out of it if he doesn't have the Snow Up. So, seeing this as his opportunity to go into Alola Ninetales to sack it and get that Snow Up, I'm actually going to go for Bulk Up here. Because if Ninetales comes in, we KO, and then we can live a Play Rough from the Satitan. And as you'll see, that is exactly the process that is going to start happening. Back in comes the Alola Ninetales. Very crucially, it is paralysed, so we will outspeed it. We're going to go for Bulk Up here, and now have a +1 attack, +1 defense, Urshifu single strike on the field. And once again, Boff is faced with this dilemma of nothing wants to take this hit. Now, Brick Break is always my play. If for some reason this Alola Ninetales had outsped and been able to get a Veil Up, we want to be able to get rid of that. There was no chance of that ever happening, but I was taking no risks. Brick Break is going to be taking out the Alola Ninetales from there. And now all Boff has left are his two Terra Captains. It's the Satitan and it is the Salamence. As we know, the Satitan is Terra Water, the Salamence is Terra Fairy. But I am at +1 defense on this Urshifu, so this all really rather comes down to what does Boff want to try and endgame with. Now, in my mind, Mence is better for it. It's got quite potent setup. It has the Terra Fairy, which can really help against my last few Mons. I said to myself at the time, that's what I would do. I would go into Satitan here, try and claim a KO or at least get big damage on Urshifu, and try and win it all with Salamence at the death. And as you'll see, that's the path that Boff is going to choose to take. In comes the Satitan. I don't think he's going to commit Terror on this. I think he's going to want to keep that for the Salamence. However, even if he's banded, Play Rough will actually not KO me because of my massive defense investment and the +1 I have from Bulk Up. He cannot KO me from this range, and Brick Break at +1, even through the snow, especially if this thing is a speedy Satitan and doesn't have HP investment, Brick Break is going to be doing a whole world of damage, and if he terrors into water, it's still going to be a 2-shot. So in is going to come the player off, but because of the bulk up and the investment, we're actually going to tank that hit, go for Brick Break, and do a lot of damage. That was, I'm pretty sure, the maximum roll I could possibly have gotten against this Titan, and the player off did not do a massive amount. Now, it is very clearly a 2-hit KO from here, but right now, my path is clear. I just need to let Urshifu go down, go into my Primarina, kill this thing, and then try and 2v1 the Salamence. From that damage, we know he's not choice banded, so he's never going to be able to KO my fully physically defensive Prim. We will take it out with any move we go for, and try and force the 2v1. And yeah, it is going to be player off from Boff to come in. That is going to take up my Urshifu, but it has put in a whole ton of work against the Snow Core, taken out the setter and done big old damage to the Titan. Now, here's what needs to happen. I have to go into Primarina here, tank a hit from the Titan. It's likely that player off is his best option to hit me. So we will not be taking a massive amount of damage from that, especially since we know it's not banded, and because it's clearly Slush Rush, it's not Life Orb either. So it doesn't look to be a boosting item at all. This incoming player off is not going to do a massive amount of damage, and we can try and lock in on Moonblast. So here comes player off. That is going to do not a massive amount of damage to my Prim. We're going to be able to go for Moonblast and take out the Titan, and now it is Salamence versus the world, but if anyone can turn it round, it's probably Ment. Now, here's the thing. Salamence can do a lot of damage to my team, but he has to respect my base 97s. Salamence is base 100 speed, but I've got Urshifu and Salamence who are 97 base and both run a very effective Scarf set. He has to respect that, and what that means is I don't think he can afford to run a lot of HP. Maybe 30 odd investment in HP maximum on this Salamence. Now, he is going to Terra Fairy here, he absolutely has to. But even so, if he's not running a lot of HP, as I suspect he won't be, this Moonblast is going to do a ton of damage. And what we've effectively done here is stop this Mence from even having the possibility of trying to set up. He has to just go for damage against my Prim and hope that I can't do enough damage to him to put him in range of my Deoxys right at the end. And so, here comes the Terror on Salamence. He had to do it. It is going to be that Terra Fairy, but I don't think we've put him in a position where he can afford to click Dragon Dance. He just has to go for the attack. Now, he's actually going to go for Earthquake here, and as you'll see, that is not going to do a lot to my Prim. We're going to go for Moonblast. That is going to do significantly more. He does not have a lot of HP investment on this Salamence, which means he may well be in range of my Deoxys, and there is the Terra Blast. So he's not scarfed. It wouldn't matter if he was. Deoxys would still outpace. Terra Blast is going to come in. That's going to take out my Prim. So Prim goes down, but it's done a really nice job here, and now it just comes down to the 1v1. With the HP left that I have on Noodly Nigel, it will take the rocks and a Life Orb tick, just barely. So now it just comes down to, does this thing have enough investment where I can safely go for Ice Beam or Thunderbolt, or do I have to risk the Psycho Boost? But I'm going to go with my gut and hope we can do enough damage, and we can. This is not a bulky Salamence. Thunderbolt is going to be enough to take down that dangerous Terra Fairy Salamence. We just about lived the tick of Life Orb, and that is going to be the game. My God. Another super close one. It was difficult to tell on the screen at the end there because it transitioned so quickly. Deoxys lived that on 7 hit points. Such a close game, and such a back and forth game as well. That was just 1 for 1 for 1 for 1 the entire time. At no point did either myself or Boff take 2 KOs in a row. It was literally tit for tat the entire time. Every member of my team got a KO. It was a full-on team effort. We missed a couple of moves, but we were able to get around it, I think. The team comp, it's, again, this kind of very offensive build, even with the bulk that it had. Most of my moves were offensive. It's not the kind of thing I normally run, but Boff's team forced me to do so. And thankfully, we were able to come out on top. And almost most importantly for me on a personal note, Haxorus. 50 career KOs on my team in my history of using it. That is a big personal milestone for me. It's something I wanted to hit this season and have managed to do. So the closest of 1-0 wins leads us to be 2-0 with a +2 diff going into week 3. That's going to be an interesting one. We're going up against Nova in week 3. Someone I haven't played in a long old time. Not since NX Stage 1 have we played Nova, where we did for the first time. So that's going to be a very good game. But in the meantime, make sure you go into the description and check out IronBoffin. His link's down there along with everyone else. Like I said at the start, Boff is an absolutely top dude. He is a lovely, lovely guy. He's always down to talk shop, like after the games and everything. Like I say, he gets a lot of friends to do his editing stuff for him as well, which is super cool. He's helped me out with intros in the past, which he absolutely crushed, by the way. Got all the time in the world for Boff. He is a super good dude. He makes great content, so make sure you go and check him out. He's going to have a very strong season with this team, I think. He is still going to be pushing. This loss is not going to set him back, I don't think. So yeah, we do go into week 3 without taking a loss, which is great. But that is going to be it from me today. I'm going to get out of here. I've rambled on for far too long, and it is like 20 to 4 in the morning. So, my final thank you to you all for watching. And I guess with that, I will see you next time. Laters.